So over the years, I've heard loads of people, loads of instructors rave on and on about how important first kata is, how it lays down a foundation for strong karate, how you can just see someone's first kata and immediately surmise their prowess in karate, and loads of other rhetoric like that about how important and valuable this kata is. But is it though? Well, the first thing to understand about first kata is it's not some ancient kata that's been passed down through the ages, not at the core essence of karate. It's far from it. It was developed in the late 1930s, which makes it more modern than commercial airline travel or TV for that matter, well into the modern era of karate. So it's a relatively late comer in karate's 600-year-odd long history. And also too, it's a derivative of a derivative, or a simplification of a simplification. See, Anko Itosu from here, when he tried to teach Chanan and Kankudai katas to school children, they were just far too long, and also included some violent and dangerous techniques that he didn't want school kids to learn. So he developed the Heian and Pinan series katas, which were a simplification of the principles and concepts in Chanan and Kankudai, and he put them neatly into 20 move long H patterns, so it made it easier for kids to learn. But even though it was an attempt to make them easier to learn, 30 years later, or 30 or so years later, from here, Gigo Funakoshi invented first kata, Taikyoku Shodan, from here, to further simplify learning of that pattern. So it's a drill to help you learn the pattern of Heian and Pinan series katas. But just because something is really modern, or just because something was invented to teach something else, doesn't mean that it doesn't include some really valuable principles. But from here, let's have a analysis of what first kata is actually teaching you. So 60% of the kata is doing lunge punches in Zenkutsu with your hip square. And as I've discussed in a previous video, that's just mechanically wrong. You can generate more reach, more power, and more speed by twisting your hips off. So, as I said, it's just mechanically wrong the way to do it. And also, lunge punches are a rarely used technique in both self-defense and in sparring. So, at best, from here, that 60% of the kata could be described as well, it teaches you how to keep your back straight, teaches you how to tie your hands and feet together, teaches you how to drive your weight through, although the mechanics are kind of a bit wrong, because you're supposed to twist your hips, because every professional fighter, from here, whether they're jabbing or lunge punching, from here, twist their hips. So why would you practice it with your hip square? But yeah, that's for my other video. So that's kind of the best way you can look at it. The worst way you can look at it is that you're spending 60% of your kata, 60% of your time learning this kata, doing a technique that you'll almost certainly never use in self-defense or sparring, in a way that's just mechanically wrong. So, not much joy there with the lunge punches. And by the way, those good principles that come from lunge punching, from here, keeping your posture, driving your legs through, timing your hands with your feet, can they be taught with more practical drills, and while students are learning skills that we're actually going to use? Of course, you can learn how to keep your back straight, time your hands and your legs together, from here, drive your weight through, learning techniques that you are going to need and use in real self-defense or in sparring. So, yeah, not a great prospectus for the lunge punches. So if the genius of this kata is not in the lunge punches, then it must be in the turns. Now, the hip twists and the body weight shifting in the turns are great principles, but once again, can you teach those principles while teaching more practical exercises and learning skills they're actually going to use? And of course, the answer is hell yes. From here, there's no monopoly on learning hip twist through first kata. So if it's not in the body mechanics, then it must be in the bunkai. Now, to my knowledge, there's two sort of schools of thought in how to interpret these bunkai. The first is that you're facing multiple attackers, or from here turning to face different attackers. And that's a very modern Japanese way of looking at it. And to be honest, it's a very, very naive point of view. Simply, you are not going to do a 270-degree turn to face someone 90 degrees to your right. If you did that in a self-defense situation, you'd have your backside handed to you. So the other way of interpreting these is that they are takedowns and throws. From here, you're reefing people around and twisting them around and taking them off balance and throwing them to the ground. And if you study those bunkai, from here they work. They work in practical circumstances. However, they're not the first takedowns or throws that I would choose to teach new beginners. Simply, they're just rare to use. And also, there are better throws and takedowns to teach people the principles of off balance and taking people's knees out and all of that kind of stuff. So, do these rarely used throws deserve the hundreds of repetitions that beginners go through of first kata? And the answer is no, they don't. From here, do they deserve the thousands of repetitions someone's going to do of this kata over a lifetime of doing karate? The answer is no, they don't. Can these throws be learned in other simpler ways? From here, in other ways, of course, you can just teach the throws. Don't need to learn the kata to learn the throws. So the value of those throws from here is not that great. Interesting, but not that great. Considering if you're going to run through hundreds of repetitions or thousands of repetitions of a drill, it better be for something that people are going to use commonly, regularly from here, and skills that people are going to almost certainly rely on to protect themselves in a self-defense situation or indeed in sparring. So, if that's all the case from here, then you mean if the genius isn't in the lunge punches, isn't in the turns, why would you learn this kata? I've heard people, by the way, say on a more minor point that from here this kata teaches the principle of no first strike in karate. It's very, very important. Well, from here, first of all, from here every kata starts off with a defensive move or a block, so there's no monopoly on teaching no first strike in karate through this kata. But also too, why would you teach no first strike in karate? Preemptively striking is a really, really important and valuable self-defense skill that may one day save your student's life. Blanketly saying never ever throw the first strike is poor self-defense advice, which, yeah, as I said, may one day get your students in trouble. You should teach your students through scenario-based drills from here, decision making in how to spot imminent attacks so they can decide when it's appropriate to throw first strikes. That's a much more valuable lesson. Okay, so this all comes back to, why would you teach this kata then? And the answer is, we have to go back to the reason why the kata was invented. It was invented to teach the floor pattern of the Heian Pinan series of katas, which are a lot more valuable in a karateka's journey. Although from here, to be honest, I don't teach the Heian Pinan series of katas, and as a result, I don't teach first kata at all. I used to in my previous style, but from here I don't teach it at all. And by the way, not boasting, in my club from here we have a retention rate in the top 2% of professional martial artists in the UK. That may be because we don't drag our students through learning a 20 move long kata of abstract turns, but instead what we do with our beginners, we focus on more practical skills and self-defense skills that they're highly likely going to need, and skills that they can see the use of and value of straight away. So if you are going to teach this kata from here, then teach it as a warm-up drill to the Heian Pinan series katas. Teach it a month, maybe 2 months before you start teaching those katas, but certainly don't drag your beginners through this. And this is my big gripe I have about teaching first kata. You see, well, I've heard this conversation from here. I've had this conversation from here where an instructor will say to me, yeah, you know those 12 new students I got? Well, I taught them all first kata and 2 of them got it. And I immediately think to myself, yeah, 2 of them got it, but you frustrated the hell out of the other 10. And you're proud because normally you frustrate the hell out of all 12 of them. See, this kata is frustrating to learn. The turns are over convoluted for kids. The pattern seems a bit mesmerizing. From here, it's 20 moves long. From here, if you're teaching beginners, they should be learning techniques or combinations that are 2 moves long or 3 moves long, 4 at the most, not 20 from here. And especially because the repetition just confuses the hell out of new beginners. And more importantly, from here, does it look anything like combat to them? From here, no, it doesn't even look anything like combat to an expert. From here, because you're doing your hip square lunge punches, when they see everyone fighting, twisting their hips, there's all these strange turns, etc., etc. From here, so they don't see the value in using in learning it, and they walk away with a bad taste in their mouth, frustrated because it's hard for them to grasp. But equally, from here, they are thinking, well, this is why karate doesn't work. From here, why am I learning this? Like, this won't protect me in self-defense. And yeah, we wonder why we have retention problems. So, anyway, I hope that shed some light on first kata and the real worth from here of this drill, and yeah, the fact that everything that's good in this drill can be replicated through other more practical exercises from here is a real indicator of yeah, its true value. Anyway, as always, train hard, train smart, think common sense. First kata is stepping out, going through punching here, from here wrapping. He's grabbing me from here and I'm turning him and counter grabbing and drawing him down through here from here. So this is my first block. Then now I'm stepping through from here, coming through. I could strike, but I'm going through, and from here my prep here is a grip here, and then now from here I'm stepping around from here and I'm twisting from here to here. And the next one from here I can obviously see. The first kata is I'm here, I ki AR, and from here step around and block. Punch from here, I might block out or whatever. From here I come through, so this is my punch. From here I'm grabbing, my foot overlaps his knee. From here I'm arm dragging and pulling him, so all of his weight is on his forward leg. And then now I'm going to step my back leg around just like in the kata, and from here that takes him down this way. From there, so when I throw, he throws his reverse, boom, and then here